Thanks for joining us from Utica. We are recording this for all of our STEM students in Madison County Schools. I've got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson. We're recording this for our friends at Shirley Simmons Middle School and Vicky Parks over at Germantown High School, and my friends Angela Reed and Jatoria Kirksey over at Old Town Middle School as well. So we are getting the word out about the role that you play in STEM education for people coming out of high school, and why you think it's so important, and how appropriate, not only during Black History Month, to have a Black STEM professional with us, but also right now we're doing a EverFi module on data science foundations and how data is collected. And before we came on, a student said, well, I don't know anything about biology. I don't know what to ask her. I'm like, well, you don't have to know a lot about biology to understand that recording data is a very, very important part of so many STEM careers. So,
okay. All right, then. Well, we can do that.
So I'll let you take it away and talk about all the stuff that you do over at Hinds and how that's important. And I know you're a big proponent of STEM education in the Black community, so I'll let you have the floor. Stephanie,
all right.
as I live and breathe.
Well, hi, everybody. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to you all today. Again, my name is Stephanie Burks. I am a biology instructor. And let me just say this real quick. Our internet is doing funny things, so let me know if something goes on campus. But I am a biology instructor on the Utica campus of Hinds Community College. I am actually the chair of the Division of Natural Sciences. And so that covers biology, chemistry, computer science, and mathematics. And I also serve as the biology curriculum coordinator for the entire campus. And so let me tell you, if you're taking pictures, you make sure they're cute pictures now, okay? You're taking screenshots, but they're cute. Okay. But I also serve as the biology curriculum coordinator for Hinds Community College. Just a little bit of background for myself. I'm actually a product of Murrah High School and Jackson Public Schools. From Murrah High School, I left there and I attended Millsaps College right across the street. And then from there, I went to grad school at UMC, which is right down the street. And so I have been a product of a lot of STEM directed education endeavors for minority students. At Murrah, it was called the Base Pair Program. And I was able to continue my research while I was at Millsaps, and then of course at UMC as well. And so I am a huge proponent of STEM education. I think that it is important for young people to know that biology and chemistry and mathematics and physics are not so far beyond them, because as they are living and breathing, they are the products of biology and chemistry and physics and mathematics. And so I always want to make sure that I show that to my students. So I really try to make sure that whoever the student is, even if they don't become a scientist, they recognize how important biology is in their educational pursuits, whether it be mechanics, whether it be culinary sciences, whether it be cosmetology, whether it be, I don't know, give me another one, welding, bricklaying, anything to that effect. Chemistry, biology, physics is gonna be involved. So I did want to make sure that I talk to you today just very quickly about Hinds Community College, the Utica campus. The reason I say this specifically about the Utica campus is because the Utica campus is the oldest campus of the Hinds Community College system. And it originally existed as a school to educate Blacks. And so in 1903, that school began as the Utica Normal and Industrial Institute. And so this campus specifically is designated as a historically Black college and university. And besides Coahoma Community College, this is the only campus that has that HBCU designation. And so I tell my students, or those prospective students that want to come to this campus, that we have a wealth and breadth of information from just our history, but because of our HBCU designation, we have opportunities, funding opportunities that are not perhaps offered at other community college systems. And so I did want to talk about two of those offerings. One of those offerings is called the STEM Up Academy. And the STEM Up Academy is funded by the National Science Foundation. The STEM Up Academy is offered to any student graduating high school who is interested in a STEM path. So it's computer sciences, IT, informatics, chemistry, biology, physics, whatever. The STEM Up Academy actually covers 2 years while they're at Hinds Community College. We cover their books, we cover their rooming, and we also make sure that they are directed toward research opportunities, internship opportunities. From our STEM Up Academy, we've had students who have gone on to do internships with the Department of Defense. We've had students to go on and do research for the summer in Belize. We have students right now that are in Columbia, at Columbia University, that are pursuing graduate degrees. And so one of the things that happens with community colleges, a lot of times those students don't get to really do research opportunities until they go to their 4 years. But at the Utica campus, we are able to provide them opportunities to do research and to have internship opportunities while they are pursuing their prereqs to go to their 4 years. On the Utica campus, we have cohorts with Jackson State and with Alcorn State University as well. So they are very familiar with our students and the educational foundation that they have coming from this campus. We also really encourage our students to go beyond their 4-year degree. And if tech is what they're looking at, if they don't necessarily want to get a 4-year degree, but they're interested in IT and things of that nature, we also have our technology portion on this campus that is prepped and ready to drive them on whatever path that they do so desire. One of the other things we have is called NCOS. And NCOS is called the National Community College, NASA Community College Aerospace Scholars Program. And so what NCOS is it's actually a directive by NASA to really expose community college minority students to the opportunities that are afforded in NASA. We are one of 2 campuses in the state that has this, and there are about 10 campuses nationwide. And so because we are designated as an HBCU, we receive the opportunity to participate in NCOS. NCOS is afforded to students who are presently at Hinds. What happens is there's a 6-week program that is online that they have to be able to complete. And so that program allows them to be able to talk to astronauts, talk to people who are at NASA right now. And they complete an online component that mimics the moon to Mars, which is the directive that NASA is following now. So they really get a firsthand account of what is offered to NASA. NASA is not just for mathematicians and engineers and hardcore scientists. NASA is for business persons. NASA is for human resource professionals. NASA is for IT. NASA is photography. So there are all of these different pathways that exist to get your foot into NASA. And really the drive of NCOS is to expose minority students to that. And so we had our first on-site component. And if I can share the screen, I want to show that real quick. Can I share the screen? All right. All right, can you see?
I can.
Perfect. All right, so let me just say this real quick. That is one of the most historical photos of Utica campus. Of course, it was a teacher education college. Let me just say, we have received funding for a museum that has been built using the vice president's quarters. And so it is now a museum. The Utica campus has been doing collaborative work with Tuskegee University to get that going. And so they are having their opening on February 17th on the campus. This is one of the best pictures, the one that I really love, showing the history of Utica. Again,
how appropriate for Black History Month as well.
Huh?
How appropriate on Black History Month as well.
Oh, absolutely. It's awesome. We've also just received funding for another component of it that deals with medical malpractice in the African-American community. And so we received funding from the National Science Foundation for that as well. And so there's a research component that goes behind that I'll be directing. And so we're always trying to find collaborative ways of tying in research and really focusing on the history of this school and really just African-American education as a whole. But back to NCOS, so the NASA College Aerospace Scholars Program. So NCOS, again, is a directive geared toward minority students. And so our first on-site component, we had about 40 students that were involved. And so what it is it's a 5-day robotics program. And so what they're supposed to do is they are building robots to mimic what it would look like treading what it would feel like on Mars.
Wow.
And so they build these Lego components, they have to program them. And not only that, they also have to mimic what it would look like if this was a particular type of company interested in selling something to NASA. So they get a model kind of budget, and they have to purchase parts. They have to make a presentation to show why their lunar rover is the best one. They have to participate in competitions as well, all within a week. Wow. In addition to that, they have mentors that come from the industry. So we had last time a person from Entergy, a person from Vertex, which is aerospace. And they also have an intern panel. One of the things that happens with NCOS is when you complete the program, if you apply for an internship to NASA, because you've completed the NCOS program, it really gives you kind of a little leg up, and they go kind of to those applications. First and foremost. And so that is a really important thing. These students, we've had 4 students so far since 2020 that have gone to internships at NASA from our campus. And so it really is a great thing. Again, I say they have to develop these robots when they get here. So as soon as they get here, they're moving. They have to develop the robots. They have a number of competitions that are judged from Stennis Space Center and people from the industry and people from the school. And then in addition to that, they go on tours. And so we went to Michoud Assembly Facility. A lot of people don't know about Michoud Assembly Facility. Michoud Assembly Facility is the one place that anything that goes into space has to pass through. It is a facility that does just that. They assemble the large portions of the NASA components that go into space. But what's more important than that is we had a firsthand tour that we normally do not have. The young lady that is in the front, who you barely see, she is an engineer and she is the quality assurance person for Michoud Assembly Facility. Her name is Dr. Horton. She's an African-American woman. She has a wonderful story about how she ended up there. One of the top persons at that assembly facility. We were able to go through and see different aspects that normal people would not be able to go through. So our students were really exposed to wonderful things. When we went to New Orleans, in addition to that, we got to see, oh gosh, it was wonderful. She spoke to the students, she spoke life into the students. Again, just her being an African-American woman and traversing what it feels like going into STEM and coming out on top at NASA. Her story is a beautiful one to hear. She is a wonderful mentor, a wonderful speaker, very inspirational. From there, we were able to see Dillard University. For those of you that might not know, Dillard University in New Orleans, they actually have a pathway into NASA and working with NASA as well. We looked up on this. We were able to talk to the head of the science department who does heavy research with STEM. We got to meet Miss Dillard and all kind of things. So we got them involved in transfer scholarships and things of that nature to Dillard. I love my students to stay in Mississippi, but I also want them to go and thrive as well. And so that was a wonderful opportunity.
And it's a great school.
It is a wonderful school.
Yeah, and it's right down the road. It's not like it's on the other side of the country.
It's not. It's right down 55 and take a left. So it is good. And so we had a couple of students just from this meeting that actually did transfer to Dillard University. And they have a beautiful new science building, very nice. Their physics department is top. Mr. Dillard is actually a major in physics. We got to meet him. And so when I talk about interns, this is what internships look like. We had actually 4, but I had these pictures, so I added these. Albert Jackson was able to go to Marshall Space Center in Huntsville, Alabama to do his internship. Deja Golden and Cedric Billups, they both went to Langley Research Center in Virginia. So if anybody's ever heard of the movie Hidden Figures, right? That's where they were based out of. And so they separately did research opportunities there. And then there was another student who went to Ames in California.
Wow.
And so these types of opportunities are not always available to community college students. But on the Utica campus, because of our designation as an HBCU, because of our drive for STEM education for our students, we work hard to find as many opportunities as possible for our students. We want our students during the summer to go somewhere, go to DC, go to USM and do research, go to Belize and do research, but please go. And when you go, come back and share your knowledge. And our students are consistently coming back and reaching back to the present students. And so on our campus, we are big on STEM education. I'm huge on STEM education. I believe as soon as you start talking, you need to be learning something STEM related, because one of the things that unfortunately happens is our students, or students that look like me, are shied away from math and sciences. They historically hate it. And it's not because they're not capable, it's just because it's not familiar. And so we do our best to make sure that we tie it into whatever your interests are. We're going to try to tie it into it because we want you to know that science is all over the place. Science is everywhere, and it is absolutely positively something that you are going to be able to accomplish if you have the right instructors.
Yeah, and we and we also have a pipeline from Velma Jackson to the Utica campus, because we've had several students take part in the Multimedia Academy here, and then be part of WUHC out there, or
Yes.
HC, out there, and including Ezekiel Harris, who's there now, Makala Brown, Delisha Banks, Anthony Scott have all come as Velma Jackson, and China Holloway have all come as Velma Jackson alums to the Utica campus. So,
Absolutely.
So that pipeline is definitely there already.
I'm glad. And we also have, we also have music and production as well. Cedric Smith does that. And so if you are perhaps one of the ones that want to work behind the scenes, or you're interested in music production, video production, things of that nature, we also have that program on this campus too. And that is headed by Cedric Smith. And so a lot of opportunities on that end as well. And of course, the Utica students, they are always interviewing somebody. So they are on it, and they are really getting that hands-on training. So yes, so many opportunities available on this campus.
Oh, absolutely. Now, before I get to the students' questions, I do have a couple of myself. I know specifically on campus, you teach the biology classes that are for, and I know you had the human A&P, but you also have the biology classes for the non-science majors. So somebody is an English major or a marketing major or whatever, they're gonna, you got to have those science credits, and that would be pretty much for any 4-year degree.
Yes.
Transfer or for an associate's. So
yes.
How do you make that? How do you make a student seem that they need that biology education in order to be a successful professional in maybe a different field?
So I tell my students, especially my non-major students, I always ask them, how many of you like science? And nobody raises their hand. And I always say, how many of you need science to get out of here? And they all have to raise their hands. And so what I tell my students, I am not trying to make scientists out of anybody. And really, science is nothing but finding an answer to a question. And so a lot of times what I have to show my students, I always get a good gauge of the educational pursuits of my students, whether it's culinary sciences, whether they want to go into business, whether they want to go into cosmetology. I always do a good little grasp of what my student population is in my class. And so I always try my best to tie it into that, to tie it into culinary sciences, tie it into cosmetology. Unfortunately, we are in the midst of a pandemic. And so one of the things we cannot avoid is we need to learn very intricate things about the pandemic. And so I always tie it to COVID. I always tie it to the vaccines and what that means, because a lot of times, unfortunately, we are getting a lot of our education and a lot of our information from social media, which is hugely incorrect. And so I try my best to take a lot of the things that I see on social media, that are scientifically incorrect and bring them to the class and talk about why they are not necessarily the best route to go. And so that opens up a wide range of information as well. And so even if I don't make anybody a scientist when they leave out, they're absolutely going to be able to look at something on Facebook and be like, oh no, that's not correct. Because I remember in class, we talked about this and this isn't right. And so that's the way that I really do the best to make it interesting for my students. We do a lot of discussion in my classes. We talk a lot about things like alkaline water, things about detoxing and all those types of things that they see all the time. And we talk about what it means and why it may or may not live up to the hype. And so we always do things like that.
And then also, even in a non-scientific field, the scientific process comes into so many things.
Absolutely.
Even in business and in any type of manufacturing, we have a lot of people here, in Madison County, they want to go work for Nissan. If you think that the scientific process isn't a big part of the manufacturing process, you haven't paid.
You're wrong.
So yeah, it's a lot of it in there, and I think that it's important for our young people to see that does play a role. Now, and then also we would also be remiss to not if we didn't talk about the advantages of a community college, because a lot of people, I know you went to Millsaps, was a small school. I went to Southern Miss, LSU, and I've told people 100 times, you can be in a class at a large university and be completely lost in the shuffle. I was in a class at Southern Miss where I was in there with a guy I had literally known my entire life. I did not know he was in the class till the last day.
Oh, wow.
There were that many people in there. So what are the advantages of having that community college experience, even if it's at a non-HBCU community college? What's the advantage of having that community college experience the first 2 years out of high school?
Absolutely. So one of the direct benefits is going to be cost. Okay, so, that's one of the direct benefits. But in addition to that, with community colleges, and I like to tell my students, some people think that community colleges on the educational realm are not as difficult as the 4 years, and that's not the case. We go through a lot to make sure that we are making sure that it's just as intense as it would be at a 4-year, because those credits have to transfer. And so as a community college educator, we have to show the 4 years that the vigor of our courses mimic what they would have, so they would transfer. And so one of the good things is you are not just a number. I can call all of my students. I see them. I know when they're having issues. I'm not in a big room of 300 people just kind of talking and leaving. And so one of the things with community colleges, the classes are small and the teachers really are invested. I have students who are basketball players. I set up times to work with them that are after hours and things of that nature. And I'm not saying that 4 years are not committed, but we do have more of an opportunity to kind of reach out to our students beyond the realm of just our classes. And also, of course, the cost. And of course, the transferability as well. And so once you're done with your 2 years here, you can take that and you can go to your next step. And you don't necessarily have to worry about it costing as much. And there are transfer scholarships that are available to you as well. So if you do well at Hinds Community College or Holmes or wherever, you get that transfer scholarship. You don't have to pay for those next 2 years. You do well there, you decide to go to grad school, guess what? Your grades, you're not going to have to pay for that either. And so the cost of college is not going down. It's unfortunately not. And so you have to think of different ways to get your education. A community college is the best bet. If I had known what I know now, what I know then, I might have taken that step myself. But it's just a wonderful way to get what you need. You still get that college atmosphere. You still get to participate. We have theater, we have choir, we have social clubs, we have all that stuff, but you're getting your education just the same. It costs a little bit less and it still transfers.
Yeah, and then especially in the STEM related fields, earlier this year, we had Derek Everett with the Department of Revenue, who's their IT manager, and he said they're hiring IT professionals with associates right now.
Absolutely, they are. And that's why I said we have a CTE, so our career technical portion at Hinds Community College. We have academic, then we have career tech. And we have career tech over there. We have computer science here. Our person here is the IT professional, came from the state. He's now teaching students. We have courses and internships that we push for those students to look into IT because they are longing for IT professionals now. And it does not, you don't need a, it doesn't have to be a computer science degree anymore. It has to be that certification now. And so community colleges get you on as soon as you get in, you get moving toward those certifications and the industry partnerships. The industries go to community colleges looking for those persons coming out with associates so they can put them directly into the field and get them to working.
Yeah, because they'd rather have somebody trained on the new technology than somebody that spent all that time. They want somebody that knows it now.
Yes,
But
and so it's certifications. That's it. Certifications here and there. There you go.
I want to get to these questions from the students. I got some good ones.
Oh, absolutely.
This is from Jay Ashton Williams, and he's a ninth grader. And he asked, were you influenced to be working in the science field as a child, or did it come when you were an adult?
So, when I was a child, I was always digging. I was always reading. I was always in something. But I will tell you, my first real interest into science, I was an Army brat. And so for about a half a semester, I ended up going to St. Andrews in like the 5th grade. And I remember the first day I got there, they were cutting open a pig's heart. And I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. And so from there, I've always loved to learn how things work. When I was younger, I thought I wanted to be a pediatric neurosurgeon like Ben Carson. But then I got really involved in research at high school. And so in high school, being a part of the base pair program and summer research opportunities, I really kind of developed my interest in science. Now, I did want to think I want to be a researcher and be in the lab forever. But when I was in grad school, I started teaching, and I really loved teaching. And so I think I was always just inquisitive. I was always really nerdy. I always wanted to dig and learn stuff. So it was always there, but I was blessed to have a lot of pathways that really forged it and developed it. So yeah, I guess it started as a child and it just developed as I got older.
That's awesome. This is Trevion Blackman. He's also a ninth grader, and
okay.
this is kind of funny. He said, can you describe the best biology lesson you've ever delivered?
Ooh, the best. Okay. So one of the best biology lessons I've done, there's so many. Okay, one of the funnest ones I've had deals with smoking and deals with the occurrences that happen in the respiratory system. And so because of our STEM Up program, we're able to go out and do different types of lessons with younger students. And so I was able to order this diseased lung, and I was able to order a lamb's lung. And so what they got to see with the diseased lung was how it had turned black, the nodules that are typically cancer tumors and things of that nature. And so most of my most memorable experiences kind of teaching something has to do with something that most people are knowledgeable of. So the one dealing with the lungs and how they change with smoking and vaping, those kind of situations, and they're able to see inside the changes that happen. Those are the ones that generally spark the most conversation. And whenever there's more conversation, those are the ones that I enjoy the most. I love dissection though. So I can't dissect a dog. I've never been able to do that, but dissection has always been very fun to me as well. So
that would be.
Yeah.
This is Kamiria Smith. She's in ninth grade, and she asked, when your student tells you they don't need biology, and because it's not their major, how do you reply?
First, I got to ask what their major is, right? But if it's a student that is in my class, right, in my non-majors biology class, well, you kind of do need it to graduate. But I can't make anybody like biology. But I did have one student. This one student was a cosmetology student. And she had no interest in scientists, but she always asked really great questions. And so I asked her what she wanted to do, and she wanted to develop a skincare line.
Well, that's scientific.
Oh, really? Well, here we are, and so, she's now going to grad school in biology because she wants to develop her skincare line. I can't, there's some students that they want to open their own business. They're into Bitcoin. They're into things of that nature. I can't necessarily say they're going to need biology for that. But I tell my students, I'm not trying to make you into a biologist. What I'm trying to do is make you into a thinker. And so one of the things about education is you're supposed to be able to take information, process it, and utilize it when necessary. And a lot of students aren't able to do that. And so a lot of times in school, that's what I develop for my students. I want you to be able to read something that you think is foreign and not throw it away just because you don't want to deal with it. I want you to be able to process it and critically think about it and be able to work through it. So whether we're talking about Bitcoins, whether we're talking about cosmetology, whether we're talking about accounting, I want you to be a conceptual critical thinker. And so that's kind of how I go with it.
Absolutely. This is Maya Dixon. She's in 9th grade, and she asked, if there was something you could change or do better about your career, what would you have done?
Oh, wow. I would tell you, I don't live life in regrets. I'm a smooth believer that every step I take, every path I make has been predestined for me to where I am at this moment. And so I could say I want to do things a lot better. I probably didn't want to go out as much as I did my freshman year of college. You know, I might have wanted to focus more, but I have to remind myself that God doesn't make mistakes. And so I realize that any step that I've taken has gotten me to where I am, has gotten me right here talking to you all today, answering this question. And so I don't really think about mistakes. I think about lessons learned. And I take those lessons learned and I move and go with it. But I didn't want to change anything. I've been blessed. I've been so blessed. And so I wouldn't want to change anything. I wouldn't.
That's awesome. Well, we're almost out of time.
Okay.
We thank you so much for joining us. But before we go,
thank you.
But before we go, first of all, you know, even though you lived all over the country and I know you lived in Germany and all over the world, you still were a young Black girl in America. Just like everybody that's watching with me now, and like most of the people, not all, but a lot of the ones that be watching later are going to be as well. But yet you've accomplished some amazing things. So even if they don't want to be a biology instructor, what can they do now to follow in the footsteps of you and other Black educators that have done so much with the same obstacles they're going to face?
So what I like to tell young people that look like me is to persevere. I tell my students, you want to get as much education as possible. So you want to be as knowledgeable as possible. Being in STEM is a very difficult place because when you walk in the door, they already have preconceived notions. Being a Black person is a difficult space because there are preconceived notions. And I tell people I can't change how somebody thinks about me, but I can show you better than I can tell you. And so what I tell my students is you want to make sure that you are always the best representation of yourself. Absolutely. And not for those people that look at you, but for yourself. And so you owe yourself to be the best you that you can be. When you are the best you that you can be, everything else will fall in line. The universe will align for your good, but you have to put the work into yourself first. And so I tell people to do it. I can't do anything about the way people think about me. Yeah. I can't, as long as they don't come at me crazy, I can exist. But be the best you that you can be. If you have a path that you want to do now, find people that are doing that path. Don't be afraid to talk to people, ask questions, get the knowledge, get the answers so you can get on track for what you want to do. And there's nothing wrong with not knowing what you want to do. Nothing wrong with it. Your path is your path alone. And so you just take that and you run with it.
Awesome. Well, Miss Stephanie Burks, we appreciate you taking some time for us. Make sure you go kiss my man Johnny Epting over there, and my buddy Dr. and my buddy Dr. Carla Turner Bailey over there in the ag department. A lot of great things happening at Hinds Utica. I know, and also we'll have some upperclassmen watching the See at the U March 4th.
March 4th.
They're having the preview day at the Hinds Utica campus if anybody's interested. And that would be for anybody, any high school student interested in going over. There's a lot of great things going on. So
yes, I will have specimens available if you feel like, cutting up on things and things of that nature too. So come on and see us.
All right. I will let everybody know. Well, thank you for making some time for us today. I know you're really busy. It's good to see you, my friend.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
All right. See you soon.
Take care.